Good morning and welcome to the University of Strathclyde. This is a very special day for us because it's the day that we graduate our graduands, as they currently are, from the Strathclyde Law School. And I said they're graduands because in a little while I will invite Professor Adeline Wilson, the head of the law school, to introduce each of our former students. And as they cross the stage, I will cap them, i.e. hit them on the head, and then they will be graduates of this university. This is a great day for everyone, for family, friends, supporters, and of course, our graduands. It's the culmination of many years and months of hard work and a few tears along the way. This room, the Barony Hall, is one of the gems in our crown, but it's also the place where occasionally an exam takes place. So there might be some mixed feelings about being here, but today it's going to be a fantastic day. We also have an honorary graduand here today, and that is Mary Robinson. And Mrs. Robinson is the former President of Ireland and United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. And it's a great privilege to have her here with us today, and I hope that you recognize that the work that Mary Robinson has done around human rights, around equal opportunities, both in Ireland and across the world, marks a phenomenal career. And I'm particularly pleased to be presiding here because my very first visit to Dublin was in 1997. And as I was being shown around the city, I went to Phoenix Park, where the president's residence is. And President Robinson, as was then, was still president of that country. And I was told about the Tilly lamp that she lit in the window of the residence to remind emigrants and their descendants of their homeland. So it's a great honor to have you here today. Please enjoy this celebration. Sometimes people feel a little bit subdued. I expect to hear cheers from family, friends, graduands, graduates, everybody. You know, this is a formal occasion, but it's a relaxed occasion. So please do enjoy yourself. I would now like to invite Dr. Elaine Webster to present our honorary graduand, and I declare this congregation open. Thank you.
Executive Dean, I have the honour to present to you Professor Mary Robinson. Professor Robinson is an extraordinarily accomplished lawyer, political figure, and advocate for human rights and justice. And it really is a great privilege for me to share some words with you today about her achievements. It is also quite a difficult task because there is simply so much to say. Professor Robinson began her study of law at Trinity College Dublin, where she later served as Chancellor, and where she is now Adjunct Professor for Climate Justice. She found particular satisfaction in debating and advocacy and was called to the Irish Bar in 1967. Our graduates will recognise landmark European human rights cases in which she acted, including in the Erie case, helping secure effective rights protection through civil legal aid, and in the Norris case, leading to repeal of laws which effectively made homosexuality a crime, significantly influencing society through legislative and policy change. She has consistently championed social progress through law, an ethos that very much chimes with our own at Strathclyde. Professor Robinson was also committed to legal education and was indeed the youngest ever appointee to the part-time Reid Professorship of Constitutional and Criminal Law at Trinity College, Dublin. By her mid-20s, Professor Robinson was not only a practising barrister and a law professor, but also a senator of the upper house of the Irish Parliament. In the realm of politics, Professor Robinson went on to serve in the role that she's described as the greatest honour of her life, being elected as President of Ireland from 1990 to 1997. A combination of natural charm, an open heart, a bold imagination, and a backbone that is not to be underestimated made her an undeniable force for positive change in Ireland and also far beyond. From 1997 to 2002, she acted as the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. This role proved to be a heavy weight to bear. There were many near impossible tasks undertaken, but also significant milestones achieved. As she ended her term, then UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan described the role as one of the most important within the United Nations. Professor Robinson carried this weight and carved a path for this flagship human rights office. Professor Robinson's work since then has, as one would expect, been rich and impactful. She was president and founder of Realising Rights, the Ethical Globalisation Initiative, president of the International Commission of Jurists, and a member of the Elders, an independent group of global leaders brought together by Nelson Mandela, a role in which she still serves. Climate justice became a cause close to Professor Robinson's heart, founding the Mary Robinson Foundation Climate Justice and co-founding Project Dandelion, a climate justice campaign led by women. Professor Robinson's contributions are just too many to list, but one which we in Scotland have directly benefited from was her nurturing of the role of national human rights institutions. She personally attended the launch of the Scottish Human Rights Commission more than 15 years ago. She also supported a human rights lens on climate justice, attending the launch of the Scottish Government's Climate Justice Fund in 2012. Scotland was the first nation to create such a fund centred on a human rights-based approach. In her 2018 memoir, Professor Robinson begins with Eleanor Roosevelt's famous quote, "Where, after all, do universal rights begin? In small places close to home." Words that we hear often in Scotland today, actually, imported, I am told, on good authority, by Professor Robinson on her visit to the Scottish Human Rights Commission. Professor Robinson writes that, reading Roosevelt's words for the first time as a young person, she saw them as, I quote, "a window into a new world where concerted citizen action would ensure that everybody mattered." It's really struck me that Professor Robinson's contribution has been marked by consistent foresight, perceiving and incubating emerging issues. She has been guided by a belief in dialogue and in care, important in a line of work that can leave indelible imprints of suffering. Her work highlights our responsibility to protect against the undermining of human dignity and to create conditions to enable its full expression on an equal basis, and not in an abstract sense, but in those everyday interactions where dignity is either denied or recognised. Eleanor Roosevelt also said, describing the role of individuals fighting for change, "I think they always had an inner feeling that something was so valuable that they must stand for and work for it, and in doing so, they influenced others." This, I expect, resonates with Professor Robinson. It is with great pleasure, therefore, Executive Dean, that with the authority of Senate, I ask you to confer upon Professor Mary Robinson the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
Professor Robinson, it's with great pleasure that I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa.
It's always a special honour to be honoured by a university, and in particular the University of Strathclyde, which has such strengths in human rights. And I understand that I'm speaking on behalf of all who are graduating today, and we are exclusively lawyers, I'm very pleased to say. And not only am I delighted to join this group of lawyers, a lot younger than I am, but I also feel rejuvenated, because I can now call myself the class of 2025, which does wonders for me, for my sense of self and joie de vivre and all that. I do well remember graduating from Trinity, but actually the graduation that meant even more to me in terms of how it changed my life was when I graduated in 1968 with my master's in law from Harvard Law School. I remember my father came over and he was bursting with pride, as you're all bursting with pride now, waiting for the graduation of your own graduates. The reason I say that is that year in Harvard did change me a lot. First of all, the teaching was so much better and different from the teaching in Dublin. The teaching in Dublin was traditional law teaching. The teaching in Harvard taught you how to think, which was really important. And in that year, I had so many experiences. First of all, that my American peers were criticizing an immoral war, the war in Vietnam. They were, many of them, because of the time, very interested in why we talked about law at all, and we had wonderful discussions about the meaning of law. Martin Luther King was assassinated in April, and just after I graduated, Robert Kennedy was assassinated. But actually, what influenced me most was my fellow students. The students that I was close to, that I was friendly with, weren't going into the Wall Street firms to make money. They were going into the south of the United States to work on civil rights or poverty programs. And I was deeply affected because they weren't just going to do that. They were going to make a difference. They were going to lead. And this was so different from the Ireland that I had left at the time. An Ireland where we waited our turn. You waited your turn. You waited into your 30s, probably into your 40s. And if you were a woman, you didn't have much turn anyway. And I came back to Ireland with what my future husband called, because he had a good sense of humor, my Harvard humility. It wasn't humility, as it was clear. And that encouraged me the following year, in 1969, to dare to challenge the university seats in the Irish Senate. Traditionally, they had been elderly male professors who took the 6 seats, 3 in Trinity and 3 in the National University stream of colleges. And I challenged in Trinity, my university, and got elected at the age of 25. And I learned an important lesson, which I just want to share with you, when I fulfilled what I'd prioritized when I was seeking to represent the university. I had prioritized legalizing family planning in Ireland. It seemed such a simple thing, because the law was stupid. Married women could not get the contraceptive pill unless they had the written permission of their doctor certifying that they had cycle regulation problems. And we used to joke at that time that maybe it was the Irish weather, that so many married women had cycle regulation problems, and you couldn't buy or sell a condom, it was against the criminal law. So that all seemed to me to be absolutely clear. But I was talking about something you don't talk about in Ireland. I was talking about sex and relationships, and you shouldn't do that. And I became a hate figure. We didn't have social media, obviously, in those days. I got letters through the mail telling me I was a witch from hell, and worse. And I wobbled. I was very, disturbed by this. And my husband, because we married in December 1970, burned the letters. And of course, we both regret that now, because it would have been part of, an interesting archive of the time. But once the letters were burned, somehow I kind of thought again. I thought, if you really believe in something, be prepared to pay the price. Be prepared to be unpopular. And the reason I felt I wanted to share that lesson was never later, when I was again criticized, did it have the same impact on me. It was that first time when I was young and vulnerable. And I want to say to young graduates, now you have social media with so much misogyny, so much viciousness, so much anonymity of hate. It is really disturbing. So if you make any kind of a stand, if you put yourself forward, particularly for public office in any way, or just take a stand, you may find a kind of deluge of that. And be prepared to be unpopular. Be prepared to pay a price if you really believe in what you're doing. So that was something I wanted to share. And then I wanted to share something else, which is related. When I graduated from the law school in Harvard in 1968, I faced a much more orderly world, a world where human rights were on a rising curve, I would say, where there were possibilities. This is a much more difficult time globally, and a much more difficult time for young people to find their way. Because apart from anything else, there's so much misrepresentation, disrepresentation, and artificial intelligence, which will also provide opportunities, can magnify that misrepresentation. And I've had experience of that. There's an image of me, a perfect image of me done with AI. I'm selling bonds, and I'm saying, I'm your former president, you can trust me. Drives me mad, and it pops up on Facebook every now and again. You know, and this is the world we're in, you know, this very strange time. So I wanted to share my passion for two articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I'm going to end with this. I'm not going to speak for much longer. The first one is the one we all know, Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. That's the base. But there's another article which I think is almost more relevant to today, because we need to know who we trust. We trust our family, we trust our neighbors, we trust our community. And you can define community in so many different ways. The University of Strathclyde is a community. That's where the trust is. And it is covered in Article 29, the first sentence. And I'm going to repeat it in a gender-sensitive way, because unfortunately, as any human rights lawyer knows, despite all her efforts, Eleanor Roosevelt didn't make the Universal Declaration of Human Rights gender-sensitive, because he was supposed to represent she. So I'm using they. Everyone has duties to the community in which alone they reach the free and full expression of their personality. Isn't that very interesting? So unless you know that you are part of a community and you have duties to that community and you do something about it, you yourself don't reach your full potential. And I see heads nodding when I say that, because many people know if you give to the community, if you give of yourself, if you work with others for a higher cause, if I can put it that way, you yourself receive far more. I'm going to end with two lessons that I learned from elders. As you've heard, I was involved, and I'm still involved as an active elder. I'm no longer chair of the elders, but the group that Nelson Mandela brought together in 2007 to carry on his work on peace and human rights and a safer world. And the first lesson is Kofi Annan, when he was our chair just before he died, used to repeat constantly a message that I think encompasses all of us as graduates today. You are never too young to lead, and you are never too old to learn. That's me. Never too old to learn. The lead is you lot. Anyway, that's the first lesson. The second lesson was a lesson in the importance of humor. Archbishop Tutu was a maestro. He was our first chair. He was a maestro in that. And he would make himself a little bit ridiculous, and he would make people laugh. And that's what I'm going to do when I'm taking my seat. I've learned from him to do a little dance. So I'm going to dance back to myself.
Associate Principal and Executive Dean, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for Research in Law, Yan Wang. For Research in Social Work, Elita Chamdimba. For the degree of Master of Philosophy for Research in Law, Scott James MacLeod Dignan. For the degree of Master of Laws, Elena Saeed Akhtar. Suman Birdie. In Construction Law, Graham John Baston. In Global Environmental Law and Governance, Rose Chiomba Eddy. In Human Rights Law, Elizabeth Helen Norrie. In International Commercial Law, Sakshi Kalwadia. Jinghao Miao. In Internet Law and Policy, Janique Simone Ashleen Charles. In Mediation and Conflict Resolution, Bronwyn Sutton. In Professional Legal Practice, Rona MacLeod. For the degree of Bachelor of Laws, Zuha Ahmed Mohammed Al-Karousi. Rory John Bailey. Jacob Bell. Jagpal Singh Bandal. Rudy Spence Brown. Callum Byers. Holly Cherry. Kate Fiona Cherry. James Clark. Sarah Ainsley Conker. Emma Coughlin. Anna Cullen. Jennifer Curry. Rhiannon Catherine Davidson. Heather Catherine Dixon. Jennifer Louise Dixon. Maria Doherty. Antonia Edwards. Ben John Finlayson. Isaac Frew. Matthew David Gaffney. Reardon Gallagher. Rebecca Geddes. Matthew Allen Goodwin. Stuart James Alexander Grant. Sam Ian Hamilton. Angus Guy Hassler. Natalie Houston. Kelly McMillan Hunter. Nicola Hunter. Amy Annie Ingalls. Isla Rowan Casapidis. Maya Kaur Samray. Dina Burke Young Kelly. Lewis Gerald Kelly. Melissa Ann Kerry. Alex Kerr. Georgia May Knox. Gavin Lang. Isabella Jean Lawrence. Robin McPherson. Asim Mahmood. Catherine Marnie. Marco Alessandro Matteo. Kristen Charlie Lucien McCarroll. Adam Matthew McCuskey. Luke McColgan. Olivia Catherine McHugh. Liam Neil McDermott. Emma Samantha Mfadjian. Riley Alexander Clement McGuire. Aidan McKeever. Charlotte McLeod. Jenna McMahon. Dominica Metzel. Fiona Megan. Samuel Derek Middlemiss. Tyler Jack Mitchell. Michael Colin Newman. Felix Izu Agba Chukwu no CK. Saxie Orchiston. Leon Azalina. Lewis Page. Bonnie Blossom Sean Patton. Katrina Ann Patton. Lorna Bonnie Patterson. Jack Fraser Patton. Christopher Paul. Owen Graham Proctor. Palwasha Afzal Rana. Amy Reed. Connie Reed. Holly Reed. Callum Russell Robertson. Callum Daniel John Robertson. Kamalpreet Kaur Sandhu. Connie Scott. Shauna Scott. Megan Susan Sharp. Chloe Shedden. Alana Smith. Drummond Stephen. Georgina Steer. Beverly Elizabeth Edith Stoner. Emily Valerie. Amy Maria Vickers. Joseph Hugh Walker. Shannon Taylor Watson. Abby Patricia Watt. Molly Jane Watt. Alexander Richard Whitfield. Courtney Williamson. Laurie Woods. Hannah Yeats. And with clinical specialism, Callum Neil Butterworth. Afton Margaret Cook. Ava Grace Ferguson. Max Huthwaite. Justine Amigo. Nikki Monroe. Ross Ian Wilson. In Law with a Modern Language, Zoe Bennett. Rory Alexander McBrien Harrison. Christopher David Riley. Nathan Mark Shevlin. In Scots and English Law, Farron Aaron. Kaylin Dawn Beggs. Caitlin Neve Burns. Rory Lewis Katani Brown. Joshua Fidele. Rachel Louise Fairfield. Ruby Frankland. Emily Joy Gallagher. Jerry Manta Gura Garrett. Kennedy Jacqueline Curtin Hinselwood. Nicola Elizabeth Kelly. Erin Rose Mack. Kai Mackerall. Leah Alice McDonald. Eloise Rosie K. Murphy. Scott Rankin. Suzanne Richards. Charlotte Elizabeth Fraser Sampson. Erin Smith. Rebecca Dawn Stewart. Abby Mae Sutherland. Grace Elizabeth Walsh. Ainsley Wright. Zazu Witcherly. And Sophie Madeline Young. In Scots and English Law with a clinical specialism, Aidan Christian Durkin. Scott Gillanders. For the degree of Bachelor of Arts in Economics and Law, J. James Eric Stockton. In Law and Economics, Mark Thomas Burns. In Law and French with International Study, Basilio Laiwini. In Law and Journalism, Media and Communication, Kate Dawn Young. In Law and Politics and International Relations, Sumaya Kalfan Saeed Al Nayara. Dante Swan Alessandri. Fraser Alexander George Donald. Abdul Rahman N. Esir. Charlotte Ann Morrison. And Nathan Travers. In Law and Politics and International Relations with International Study, Ava Hamilton. Leila Maria Heckley Fugaccia. In Law and Psychology, Asal Gayer Hamed Suhail Akal Mush Alameri. In Law and Social Policy, Natasha Billy Davies. Carla May Strathby. For the degree of postgraduate diploma in Human Rights Law, Saba Mohammed. For the degree of Bachelor of Laws in Scots and English Law, Ruby Starr Carroll.
Firstly, let me extend to you once again a very warm welcome on this special day, a day that marks the culmination of many months or years of hard work and dedication for our new graduates. For those of you graduating in the presence of your loved ones, this is a moment of great pride for them. Your family, friends, and supporters have undoubtedly played a crucial role in your journey. So graduates, let's take a moment to thank them too with a round of applause. Likewise, my wonderful colleagues have worked tirelessly to provide you with an exceptional education and student experience, and I hope a superb graduation day. And your success reflects their commitment. Graduates, let's take a moment to show our gratitude and appreciation to the staff of the University of Strathclyde. Once this ceremony has concluded, we will leave the hall in academic procession, signifying that you're now full members of the Strathclyde academic community, or we prefer to say family. And this family currently numbers more than 220,000 worldwide. Graduates, you're joining a long line of alumni who have gone on to excel in their chosen fields. This includes notable names such as physician, missionary, and explorer David Livingstone, television pioneer John Logie Baird, former Lord Advocate Lady Eilish Angiolini, leading politician Baroness Annabel Goldie, and entrepreneur, philanthropist, and longtime supporter of this university, Sir Tom Hunter. Our alumni also include notable entrepreneurs and leaders in modern industry, such as computer science graduate John G. Andrea, who is now Senior Vice President of Machine Learning and AI Strategy at Apple, and fellow computer science graduate Dr. Pauline Burke, who is Head of Data Science, Siri Assist, and Diction, also at Apple. From within our own faculty, alumni include teaching graduate Andy Roxburgh, former Scotland men's football team manager, who is now Technical Director of the Asian Football Confederation, and economics and social history graduate Dr. Leslie Stretch, former President and CEO of the software service company Medallia, and someone who has been a generous benefactor to the university and to this faculty in particular. Our university was founded in 1796 during the Scottish Enlightenment through the bequest of Professor John Anderson, who believed in knowledge for all and for the greater good, and he wished to establish a place of useful learning in the heart of Glasgow. We have remained faithful to his wishes and his founding principle, and it continues to guide us today as we strive to make a positive impact on society and the world. We are a research-intensive university committed to creating new knowledge to tackle the challenges of our time, and as I'm sure you will agree, there are many. Across the university, our researchers are leading the development of innovative technologies that will facilitate the transition from fossil fuels to clean, sustainable energy sources, such as wind, solar, and hydrogen. And these will power our future world as we tackle climate change. We're developing new drugs using new digital manufacturing processes, which will provide cheaper, more effective treatments in the fights against cancer, kidney disease, and other inflammatory diseases, whilst also helping our health services evolve to face the challenges of the health and social care system of the 21st century. Through one initiative, Strathclyde Inspire, we're helping students and staff create new businesses with sustainability in mind, creating new jobs and supporting economic growth. We're leading the revitalisation of this part of the city through the Glasgow City Innovation District, which is bringing companies both large and small here to work together across key research clusters: health tech, fintech, 5G, industrial informatics, space, and quantum, the majority based within our Technology and Innovation Centre. And I'm very proud to say that the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, and particularly our lawyers, are playing a key role in this work. Soon we will be creating another innovation centre named in honour of one of our most successful alumni, businessman Dr. Charles Huang, who donated 50 million, an extremely generous gift, and our largest ever, given in recognition of the role this university had in his success. Part of this new centre focuses on social innovation and brings together academics with public sector and third sector organisations to tackle the problems we face in society. Our university, and our faculty in particular, works tirelessly to inform public policy on national economic strategy, education, human rights, children's rights, renewable energy policies, and the design of future cities through our various research centres and institutes. We understand the value of successfully working in partnership with business, government, and the third sector to make a difference, and we extend our global reach through academic partnerships with leading universities around the world. As a university, we are continually working to enhance our student experience, putting our students at the heart of everything we do, and our efforts have been recognized in recent years with a host of awards. We are the only university to win the Times Higher Education UK University of the Year twice. Our business school has been named Business School of the Year, and we've won Workplace of the Year, and colleagues have won Research Project of the Year. Strathclyde was named Scottish University of the Year in 2024 and runner-up as UK University of the Year in a new University League table. Alistair McCall, who compiled the rankings and who had previously was responsible for the Sunday Times Good University Guide, describes Strathclyde as follows. It is the epitome of a progressive 21st century university, seeking to shape and change society for the better through the pursuit of educational excellence and social change, and still a place of useful learning, just as it set out to be more than 200 years ago. Last year, we were named European Entrepreneurial University of the Year, and we collected our 4th Queen's Anniversary Prize, this time in recognition of our research and innovation in the field of photonics, the science of light. And our law school particularly goes from strength to strength. This year, Professor Jane Schooler completed an international and large-scale project focusing on sexual violence in 4 countries, funded by the Economic and Social Research Council. This has resulted in the launch of an open access book and an animation reel, both of which are already influencing legal reforms. Professor Francesco Sindico presented at the International Court of Justice, the UN's highest judicial body, in a major case focusing on the world's climate system. Professor Elisa Mugera was appointed the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Climate Change and Human Rights, leading international efforts to understand how changes in climate impact the most vulnerable in our societies. And closer to home, Douglas Jack was appointed to the board of the Legal Services Agency. Here at Strathclyde, 2026 will see us host the UN International Summer School following the Heritage and Law Conference that was run in December. We also played host to the annual conference of the Association of Law Teachers this year and have launched a new master's program in law, technology and innovation in partnership with Data Lab. This year, we also saw several staff and postgraduate students nominated for teaching awards. Dr. Michael Randall won the award for his work on equality, diversity and inclusion, and PhD student Irini Yementsitsis won the award for supporting students in her role as a tutor. It's upon all of these achievements and markers of recognition, both here and abroad, that we continue to build our future, and we've set ourselves ambitious goals for the next 5 years in our strategic plan, which we call Strathclyde 2030. However, graduates, today is a day for you. It's the beginning of a new chapter in your lives, where you will take the knowledge and skills you've acquired during your time with us to pursue and realize your ambitions. Our world faces many challenges and uncertainties at this minute, and these challenges require solutions grounded in law and in compassion for one another. As you go forward, the university's values of being people-oriented, innovative, collaborative, ambitious, and bold will stand you in good stead. You are the future leaders of our society. We need values-driven leaders to shape the future. From today, you have the power to effect change, to inspire others, and to shape the course of history. Remember that Strathclyde is an institution where freedom of thought is encouraged and valued. We are an institution exemplified by tolerance and inclusivity. As you embark on this new chapter in your lives, I encourage you, as Professor Robinson did, to continue to learn and to embrace new challenges. Remember that the pursuit of knowledge is a lifelong journey, and that the success you have is not measured by what you achieve, but by the impact that you have on those around you. So it is with immense pride that we see you graduate today. And though you may be leaving us, we hope that you will continue to stay in touch, to let us know how you get on and how you might support those that follow. I would like to thank our staff for their unwavering commitment to excellence and for their dedication to helping our graduates achieve their full potential. To the families and friends of our graduates, thank you for your unwavering support and encouragement of them. In conclusion, to all our graduates, congratulations once again on your achievements. We are very proud of you and wish you every success in the future. Thank you. So we've had the thumbs up. There is no rain. So at the end of this congregation, we are going to process out. The academic party first, followed by all our graduates, and then we want families and friends to join us in the learning and teaching building for some refreshment. And the trick is follow the pipes. So therefore, I declare this congregation closed and ask you to be upstanding.